The France Foundation has acquired this expertise in designing education that works through a combination of getting the right people, continuously seeking to learn. I'm David Schmahl, and I'm an Executive Vice President at SmithBucklin. I also serve as Chief Executive of the Healthcare and Scientific Industry Practice. Part of my responsibility is to have executive oversight of the France Foundation. Within SmithBucklin, we divide our client organizations into one of three buckets: the business trade organization, the technology organization, and then the healthcare and scientific organization. The health and science practice has around 30 client organizations. One of the aspects of serving the healthcare and scientific practice is that the volunteers come from many different aspects of the healthcare industry. There could be clinicians or healthcare providers that are in our offices every day, whether it's in Washington or here in Chicago. And so all of us who are serving in this practice have the opportunity to work with clinicians of every specialty. If I could summarize in a sentence what really gave us confidence to make the acquisition of the France Foundation, it would be they're very smart people and they're very good at what they do. During the due diligence, a name kept coming up repeatedly talking to the customers and collaborators with the France Foundation. Dr. Bruno, Dr. Bruno, Dr. Bruno. So being able to meet Dr. Bruno, we call him Ted, as the France Foundation's Chief Medical Officer was a privilege in the diligence, and it was obvious right away that the skills and knowledge he had of the industry and then his personal attributes are a tremendous value add to the France Foundation and their collaborators. You know, nothing's more exciting to have the chance to be a part of an acquisition where there's so much hope and enthusiasm surrounding it, both from the company and then for myself personally. So you close the due diligence, you go through the acquisition, and then you sit back and you start to work against what you would hope to see happen. And we're living that right now. So let me go through a couple examples. We had hoped to see some of the things that SmithBucklin could bring forward to them create more efficiency and time for them to focus on their clients. That's happened. We can bring forward corporate accounting and financial management support so that the France Foundation can focus on their work. We also hoped that we could leverage some of the communications and corporate marketing and what I would call infrastructure resources of SmithBucklin to the France Foundation so that they can focus on their daily work of serving either their supporters and the mission of a grant or their collaborators. We want to see the France Foundation grow. From a SmithBucklin business perspective, and the employees, we're an employee-owned company, you want to say this was a smart financial investment, but that's part of it. Another thing that's equally important to me is the growth of Stacy as president and Ted as chief medical officer, that they feel like they're continuing to do work that's meaningful for them. We're celebrating the first international delivery of learning activities through the France Foundation, and that's growth outside the U.S., and that was an ambition that we had for the France Foundation early on. If we could see growth not only of the company, but growth in the contributions that the France Foundation is making to the field, and growth in the outcomes for the learners going through the activities designed by the France Foundation, these are all aspects of growth that indicate success in our mind. You know, what I learned in the due diligence period is that there's a lot of cynicism from executive directors and folks in the industry about medical education companies. There's been a long history. And so nothing has been more gratifying to see some of the executive directors in my practice proactively, in an unsolicited way, share with me their praise of the collaborations that have formed with the France Foundation. When Stacy or Ted or other leaders come into a SmithBucklin corporate meeting, there's a lot of parallel discussion. Service to clients, value creation for clients, needs assessments, filling gaps, getting to outcomes, measuring outcomes. So while we're in different fields, association management and medical education, there are considerable overlaps. Call it synergy, call it overlap, but it's just a great fit.